Hello, good evening and welcome to my business page. I'm so glad that you're here. If you are coming on, please say hello. I'm just going to turn on my Skype because I've got client calls in a bit. Yeah, I'm just going to wait for some people to jump on, and whilst I'm waiting, I am going to just tell you a little bit about me, just in case you don't know and you've never met me before. So, my name is Helen Packham. I'm just going to turn that down. I am a transformational life and business coach for female entrepreneurs, and I really help women to unlock their courage and confidence so that they can stand out online, build and monetize a following of raving fans, and attract more premium clients as a result. And it's something that I've been doing now for just over 6 months in this particular business, but I do have a background in corporate leadership development and coaching. And so I've utilised my corporate experience and my experience of building 2 online businesses to help the women that I'm helping today. And I help women all over the world to really unlock their courage and confidence and really take strides to stand out and make their mark and make a difference in the online world. And I absolutely love it. And this subject is something that did feel awkward to me. It is something that I did struggle with when I launched my first business. I did worry about it when I left the corporate world because I am not a salesy person. So, even though I had a sales background in terms of I used to coach people, when I worked in an outbound call centre, one of my jobs was as a sales coach. And so I had to increase the sales in a call centre, in an outbound call centre. And I did find that role quite difficult. So I was coaching a team of coaches, but I was also implementing training and development initiatives. But I learned a lot from that role. And it did scare me because I thought when I left the corporate world, and I thought, how the hell am I going to do this on my own? I am not a person that cold calls. I'm just not somebody who does that. It doesn't feel right to me. It doesn't feel comfortable to me. If you're jumping on, say, hey, nice to see you. Tell me how you're doing today. Rachel, how you doing, lovely lady? Haven't spoken to you in a long time. How are you doing? Really, really nice to see you. So, yeah, I'm just talking about my experience with selling. Was a sales coach at one point in my career, so I learned a lot about the psychology of selling and really understanding how to sell to people and what to appeal to and how to use neuro-linguistic programming in selling. And so that did work quite well in my corporate career. But when I left, it was like, it just doesn't feel right to me. I don't know how to do this without it feeling awkward or staged or pressured or just really uncomfortable. And there was a few people I was talking to at the time, and they were doing lots of cold calling. They were cold calling around corporate companies. They were approaching people cold, without having any type of relationship with them. And that just did not feel right to me. I didn't want to feel like a door-to-door salesman. Hey, Sarah, how you doing? Nice to see you, lovely. Hope you're cool this evening. Hi, Han. I'm great, thanks. Oh, good. I'm glad. So, the thought of doing that just left me cold, and I thought, well, I'm never going to be any good at this because it's not who I am. I'm not pushy. I'm not all in it for the money, and that isn't my main driver. My main driver is to feel satisfaction from helping other people. It's to feel the satisfaction in the work itself, in the job itself, in coaching people, rather than actually being driven by the bottom line. That's just not who I am. And of course, yes, earning money is important, but that isn't part of my makeup. And so it was a real concern for me and a real worry. And when I started up my first business as a sleep coach, it was something that I wasn't very good at. Luckily, it kind of happened naturally to me because I don't know how I managed to do it really, but I'd really found a niche market in the fact that sleep deprived parents was quite niche at the time. And so therefore it was easy to find those people, and I didn't really have to do much selling. So that's how it started. agree, cold calling is an awful tactic for both parties. Yeah, awful. And that's all I knew. That was my old way view of selling. That's all I knew. That was where all I was coming from, was understanding how people came to doors, knocked on doors, called you up and sold to you. So that was the mentality I had in my head when I came into the online world, thinking that's what I'm going to have to do. That's what I'm going to have to be. I'm going to have to be somebody I'm not to make sales. So my first business, it did do well in that I got the clients, but I was undercharging. I was giving away too much time. I had no boundaries, and I ended up being completely stuck and broke and burnt out because of it. And it wasn't until I launched this business that I started to really learn that you don't have to be that type of salesperson to sell. You don't have to take that approach, an approach that isn't aligned with you or who you are or all your values. You can be yourself and still attract the right clients to you. So I'm just going to go through a few things that have helped me. I'm doing it this week. I'm focusing on this theme. In my group on Friday, I'm going to be revealing a big secret to selling with soul. So selling with soul is really very much what I am about. And what that means is, selling with soul means selling from a place where you are a big-hearted person, you love helping people, that's who you are, and you don't forfeit that in order to win clients or sales or whatever it might be. So selling with soul means exactly that. You are selling with integrity, you are selling in line with your values, and you're doing it in a way that feels easy and good to you rather than inauthentic and misaligned with your values. Because if something doesn't feel right in your business, you don't do it. That's as simple as that. And if someone's telling you to do something, say if a coach is telling you or somebody else is telling you to do something that doesn't feel right, then you have to speak up, because it has to be aligned with your values and you have to feel in integrity when you're doing it. So these are a few things that have helped me. Let me just bring up my little notes. Tell me how you feel about selling. Tell me your views. Let me just bring up my notes here. Tell me your views on selling. First of all, just I'm seeing the two ladies on here. You've got two very different businesses. Sarah, you are yours is the physical, and Rachel, yours is more service-based, isn't it? So tell me what your thoughts are on selling. What approaches do you take at the moment? How does it feel to you? Tell me what your thoughts are on this subject. Mum's in the house. How you doing, Mum? Tell me how you feel about this. Okay, and I'm gonna start. I'm gonna give you 5 things that may help you to sell without selling, even if you aren't salesy. And that sounds a bit, but it's true. You can sell without selling, even if you aren't salesy. It's tough. Yes. Okay. It is. Tell me why it's tough for you, Rachel. If you feel that you want to share and you can share, please do tell me why you feel it's tough. Okay. So the first thing the first point that I want to tell you about is something that I brought up a few weeks ago in one of my Facebook Lives, and it was the big secret to selling on Facebook, and that is not to sell. Okay. So let's see what you're saying here. I tend to blog and share tips and forget to ask for the sale. Okay, Rachel. Yes, I have been. Do you know what? That it is tricky, isn't it? We think that, in all our marketing efforts, that might be enough to attract our ideal clients to us. But actually, unless we are closing in lots of different ways, and closing does not mean just asking for the sale, it's lots and lots of different ways, then we are not extending our hand to let people come to us. Also, I feel like people expect health advice to be free. Interesting. Tell me where that belief comes from. Tell me what evidence you have that people expect health advice to be free, if you're comfortable to share that. It's an interesting one, and I completely understand what you're saying there. But tell me why you have that belief. Selling is awkward. I never sell. I'm really fortunate. I have built up a basis of clients who approach me rather than the other way around. Recommendations attract my clients. A beautiful position to be in, and well deserved, Sarah, because I've seen your cakes and they are absolutely amazing. So that's fantastic, and that's how it should be. You know, that is exactly how it should be, that you have those people coming to you because of the reputation that you have built up through all of your determination and your efforts. You should be bloody proud of that, lady. High five to you. I have an NHS background, so used the concept of free at the point. Used to the concept of free at, oh, I see. Okay, I get that. Totally get that. So that will be, and you know, we all have our selling blockers. I'm actually going to be talking about that later on in the week, and I've written some posts that help with that. Message me if you want more info on that, in terms of working through your selling blockers, those things that you're sabotaging yourself with, that mean you're not putting yourself out there in a way that is going to be inviting people to work with you. And I understand that belief that you have. It's a belief that is valid because it's coming from your background, but it's not serving you now. That isn't serving you where you are now. And you know, it's understanding is the evidence that that is true now, and working through that. But thank you for sharing that, and I really understand where that's come from, but that's not serving you. So what can you do to dissolve that belief and rewire it to something that is? Probably also because I got my head around my money mindset sorted. Awesome. That's wicked, Sarah. That's brilliant. Fantastic. Well done. That's excellent. So, okay, so the first point I want to, please do keep your things coming. It's definitely a limiting belief that I need to get rid of. Yes, absolutely, Rachel. And you're aware of that. And that is going to, you know, do some work on that. I definitely recommend doing some work on that, because it's always going to be a subconscious blocker for you. You don't want that, because people need to hear about what you can offer them. They need to know you've got fantastic services. You really can change people's lives. I saw your email today. Fantastic email. You know, you really can. I'm glad you're putting your prices up. You know, you've got an amazing service, product, whatever you want to call it, the Happy Mummy Cleanse, and people need to know about it. People need to know. All right. So this is great. I'm actually glad I'm answering some questions. So I'm just going to rattle through the things that might help. So in terms of not selling and selling through not selling is first of all the belief system of serve, don't sell. So when we have the belief system of serve, don't sell, we do not have selling in our minds, which is great, because that means that we aren't first and foremost thinking that we have to get the sale. Because when we are, for whatever reason it might be, you know, building a relationship online, speaking to someone, you know, whatever it might be, networking, if we are having our minds got to sell, got to close, got to close, got to close, that's going to come across, and that's not going to feel right, particularly if you're a big-hearted lady like me and you just want to help people, right? So if you're thinking got to sell, got to sell, got to sell in everything that you do, and you're withholding information because of that, or you are not saying anything because you feel like it's written all over your face, or whatever it might be, flip that mentality and change it to serving. So, you know, I've given some examples recently of how I am in my Facebook group. Yes, I am asking for the sale, but in some of the posts I do in the Facebook Lives, but I'm always coming from a point of serving. And so it's how can I help you? What information can I share with you that's going to help you in terms of building connections? And if it's, you know, if I can help you, then it may be that you know somebody that may need my help, or it might be that we build a great connection in terms of collaboration, or whatever it might be. But flipping that mentality is the first step to selling without selling, even if you aren't salesy, because otherwise it feels wrong and it doesn't feel right. It just doesn't feel right, okay? The second thing to think about is solving problems. Now, if we're solving problems, then we don't need to sell. And, you know, people talk about this all the time, but I'll be completely honest, a lot of the people that I talk to and a lot of the clients I work with, it is always a sticking point, and it continues to be a sticking point. Now, I'm talking particularly if you might be a service-based entrepreneur. Say hey if you're coming on. I can see there are people on. Nice to say hey. If you're a service-based entrepreneur and you are offering a service, that you are going to be identifying what problems you can solve. It's not about telling people about the process of your service, because people don't need to hear that. And that doesn't necessarily feel right. It does feel like you're selling, because you're saying, I've got this coaching package and it's 6 sessions and you get access to a private Facebook group and you get this, that and the other. Again, this is an example if you're a service-based entrepreneur. And yet people don't know what that means. And so it feels like you're pushing something, when really if you tap into what their problems are, how you can solve them and what that would look like, you are not selling, you are solving a problem. And when we solve a problem, we don't need to sell, because people will identify that that's the problem that they need solving, and they will be attracted to you. And so it is something that does require, I personally feel, a step-by-step process to it, because you do have to first of all understand how you can help people that's truly aligned with what you do and your passion and your purpose and your skills and expertise. Then you identify the type of person that you really want to help and you can help and what they're like. Then you identify the problems they have, and then you solve their problems based on what you can offer them. And so serving, not selling, and solving problems are really, really great ways of selling your services. The third thing that is really, really key, and it's something that I did a lot of work on in my corporate career, and in my corporate career I used strengths-focused development for all sorts of things, including selling, so helping people to sell, not just on the phone but in other areas. I did a lot of work with the sales force in the corporate world, and did a lot of team coaching and team development around strengths-based selling. Now, what that means is you use your strengths to build a relationship with someone and get them to really understand their own needs, but also using the things you are really, really good at. And so I am going to go into this more on Friday in my group. So I'm going to be doing a whole session on this on Friday in my group about how to utilize, to maximize the things that you are best at in order to sell, in order to create the stage for somebody to really understand how something could benefit them. And you do that by using all of the things that you are bloody good at. And we are good at lots of different things, right? Somebody who's really good at critical thinking can help break down problems for people so they can understand them. Somebody who's got strategic mindedness as a strength is going to be thinking big picture for that person. These are just a couple of examples, but really tap into the things that you are good at that will enable you to paint a picture and create a stage for somebody, a platform for somebody to think, yeah, I need that, right? That is the stage we want to be creating, the platform that we want to create for someone. The fourth thing to think about is pulling, not pushing, right? So, as I said, when I got into this, then came into this online world, all I knew was the old way of selling, which was to push your services, and that be that. And so when I came into this world of online marketing, and it was completely different in terms of identifying what a sales funnel was and how that worked, and what that meant, and what a know-like trust factor was, and how you had to have a touch point with someone 5 to 7 times before they even considered buying something from you. And that was completely new to me, but I learned quickly that is how it works. And it's not pushing, it's pulling. And pulling means you are attracting people to you through your marketing efforts, and you are showing people how you can help them through your marketing. And of course there's so many different ways that you can do that. This is one. A blog is another, as you've mentioned, Rachel. All sorts of different things, posting in groups, being visible on different platforms, doing speaking events, all sorts of different ways that you can do it. for people to understand now yet. Rachel, you've raised a very good point there. If we're not having some call to action at the end of those marketing efforts, then we are not inviting people to come forward. Now, some people, they need you to hold out your hand. Most people don't realise what they need. They're not fully tuned into the things that they need. And so it needs to be made really clear for them. One of my current, well, she was my one-on-one coach, I'm now working with her in a group program, Jessica Lorimer, says that you need to be selling every day in some way. Now, be that putting out a blog with a call to action on it, or putting out an Instagram post with a call to some sort of call to action, whether it be for your email list, or whether it be for a group, or whether it be for a clarity call or a discovery call, or whatever it might be. You would have a call to action every single day in some way, but it doesn't have to be a direct sale. Like that, dear Helen, most people don't know what they need. Hello, Judy. How you doing, lovely? They don't know what they need. And if we assume that they do, then we are missing a trick. We need to assume that they don't know. And so if we are spelling it out in terms of the problems that they're facing, it's always subconscious in terms of, thinking, bringing up buying decisions. Another thing Jessica says is that, we buy based on 3 things. Emotion, aspiration, and fear of missing out. So, it's how we tap into that to really enable someone to understand what it is that they need. But we do that through pulling and not pushing. We do that through attracting them through our marketing methods, rather than pushing ourselves on them all the time. Okay. And then the final point that I want to make around selling without selling is being you. Now, I know that people say this all the time, but it's true. Because if you're trying to be someone you're not, first of all, if you're trying to run a business that isn't aligned with who you are, you're going to feel that, and that's going to come across. If you are, you're holding back in some way, and so therefore you're feeling like you're not showing all of yourself, or you're not showing enough of the parts of yourself that are going to mean people are going to get turned on and tuned in and want to buy from you, then that's going to hold you back. If you feel like, there's a lack of confidence in being you, then that may hold you back, because that's going to show itself. So really developing a solid foundation of self-knowing and confidence is going to enable you to sell without selling, because people buy confidence. They do. People want to know that you are sure that you can help them, And if you aren't able to show up as you, in all your glory, whatever that might be, in the online world, then that may be a blocker for you in terms of selling, because we are not, we feel it, we feel that we're not being true to ourselves. So it might be that you're being someone else and you need to unbecome that person. You're being somebody you think people need, when really that's not you at all. Or you're just holding back because of sort of lack of confidence. So definitely explore that and figure out what am I not being, and how is that holding me back from showing up and just telling people how I can help them. How is that holding me back? Because it is a big blocker to selling. As I say, selling without selling, just showing up and being you. There's so many examples of people that just show up, they give their message, and people want to work with them. They want to book discovery calls in, they want to buy their products and services, because they are being them, and people see their confidence, and they see that they're being genuine and honest, and people buy into that and love that, because we are buying people rather than things. When it comes to something like a service that you're selling, you are going to buy that person in terms of the brand they're putting across, who they are, and a lot of people make decisions based on that. Sorry, I'm faffing around with a necklace here. I'm going to put that to one side. Hey Sally, hey Nicola, how are you doing? So I'm just going to summarise that, because I've got my first coaching call with one of my Monday nights and my coaching call nights in 5 minutes. But if you've got any questions about this, do shoot them now. please let me know. I'm going to recap the 5 ways that you can sell without selling, even if you aren't salesy right now. So the first is serve, don't sell. Get yourself into a mentality where you aren't thinking about the sale. Yes, you will be asking for the sale, as in you will be setting a call to action, but get yourself into the mentality, but it's not always in your mind when you're interacting with people, because if you're thinking about how you can serve them, you're much more likely to attract them to you. Solve their problems. Think about how you can solve people's problems rather than telling them about the process. People need to hear, because they don't know necessarily what their problems are, so they need it made clear to them. Play to your strengths. Do what you're good at. Utilize those really key skills and attributes you've got to help people on their journey to buy. Because if you're focusing on what you're good at, it's going to feel so much more natural to you and authentic, and that is going to come across to people as well. Pull, don't push. So don't think of it like you're a door-to-door salesman. Don't think of it like the old way of selling where you are pushing and pushing and pushing all the time. Think of it like the pull, that through your marketing efforts, you are attracting people to you. Yes, you are holding out your hand and saying, if you want to work with me, this is how you get in touch. If you want to do this, this is how you join my email list. This is how you join my group. All of that type of stuff. But you are not pushing. You are not a cold calling salesman. That's not how you do it. You attract them to you through your marketing. And the final point is to be you. Be authentic. Be you. If you've got things that are holding you back from doing that, work through them. If you've got beliefs that are holding you back from doing this, work through them. Because it's through smashing those things and dissolving those things that's going to enable you to be confident, to speak with confidence, know what people need, solve their problems, and attract them to you as a result. Any questions at all? Please do let me know. Now, the reason I'm talking to you about this is because this is a very, very important subject to me. It's been something that I've been on a steep learning curve with in terms of my own nature, being a big-hearted lady and wanting to help people first and foremost. I've really had to keep my own strengths in check and, really see where I was sabotaging myself and where I was holding myself back. And so that's why I have combined my corporate sales experience of being a sales coach, of using NLP in sales, and in selling in the online world in a way that's authentic to me and attracting the clients I have had to me through my marketing efforts, that I have included this as a really key part of my group program. It's something that I really feel is important, particularly if you are someone that does struggle with selling and you do find it difficult, that I explain it to you in a way and get you to practice in a way that does feel authentic to you and in line with your values. And that's just one module of an 8-week program that is really focused on helping you to get more visible online, build a following, and attract the people that you want to work with you as a result of that. So if that's something that does sound interesting to you, if that's something you feel you need, just sitting there thinking, yes, this is tricky for me, I don't know how to do it, I want to improve that, then get in touch with me. I'm going to put a link to my calendar below, or shoot me a message. We start in January, date to be confirmed. I've already got some lovely ladies joining. If you join now, you get an extra month worth of support for free. So do send me a message if this is something that is speaking to you. So, Nicola, I need to sell advertising space in our rare disease magazine, but how do we bring them on board when we are a new entity? I mean, without lots of analytics on readership. Need to sell advertising space in our rare disease magazine, but how do we bring them on board? That's not an area I have of expertise. I do know people that will be able to answer that question for you, Nicola, but selling advertising space in your magazine isn't necessarily something that I am skilled to answer, I'm afraid. But if you shoot me a message, I can definitely put you in touch with some people that I know that might be able to help you. Absolutely. Okay, my coaching session is now. If you've got any other questions, pop them below. I'm going to put a link to my calendar. Let's just have a chat. If this is something that you struggle with, let's just have a chat anyway. Let's just see how that looks for you and what might be able to help you find a better way through, so you can serve and not sell, and do it in a way that feels really, really authentic to you. Okay, I'm going to go now. Over and out. But I will see you soon. Lots of love. Bye.